You know, every great civilization has a founding story, a myth that's kind of like its source code. For ancient Rome, that story is all about two twin brothers, a she-wolf and a destiny that was forged in conflict. So let's dive into this myth, not just as a fairy tale, but as the actual blueprint for an empire. This single idea right here, this is the absolute heart of the Roman identity. It's the belief that even from the most dangerous, most unlikely start, something truly massive can rise up. This theme, greatness born from struggle, it's the key to understanding everything that comes next. So, where does this legendary story even begin? Well, not with kings and palaces, that's for sure. It starts with a desperate act and what feels like a divine intervention. The origins of Rome are just steeped in the miraculous. I mean, just try to picture this scene. Two tiny babies, cast out by their own family, set adrift in a basket on a river. Their story really should have ended right there, just another forgotten tragedy. But fate, or maybe something a little wilder, had a very different plan. Okay, so what happens next is the first big clue to unlocking this whole myth. The twins need protection, right? They need a guardian to care for them and make sure they survive. But that care, that nurturing, well, it's about to come from a very, very unexpected place. So get this, their survival isn't because of a kind human. It's a wild animal. A she-wolf finds them, and completely against all natural instinct, she becomes their guardian. In that one powerful image, you get the symbol of Rome's entire future spirit. Fierce, untamed, but also fiercely protective. This crazy upbringing didn't make them weak. It made them legendary. They grew up incredibly courageous and strong, literally shaped by the wild. Their survival alone was seen as a miracle, a sign from the gods that they were special and that they had a grand purpose waiting for them. As the boys grow up and become men, that divine purpose starts to take shape. But with purpose comes a very, very human problem: ambition. And when two brothers are ambitious for the exact same prize, it leads straight to a fateful dispute. And this is the engine that drives the whole next chapter of their lives, this powerful, burning desire to succeed. It's what pushes the twins to want to build a city, to create something out of nothing. But ambition, well, it's a double-edged sword. When two people want the same thing, conflict is almost guaranteed. So their conflict really boils down to the most fundamental question: where are we going to build the city? Romulus chooses the Palatine Hill, claiming he saw a divine sign of 12 vultures. But Remus, he picks the Aventine Hill, and he argues that he saw his sign, 6 vultures, first. This isn't just a squabble over real estate, it's a total clash of visions for the future. And let's be clear, this was never some minor quarrel they could just get over. No way. This was a fundamental dispute over destiny itself. They were really arguing about who had the gods' favor, who really deserved to be in charge, and what the soul of their new city was going to be. A deep dispute like that could only have one resolution. The story now pivots to its dramatic, violent climax, where two competing ambitions are going to get resolved into one single vision, creating the city that we all know as Rome. For the Romans, what happened next wasn't just a victory, it was a triumph. And that word was so important to them. It didn't just mean winning. It meant succeeding after a massive struggle. It implies that the only victory that truly matters is the one that's earned the hard way. The conflict turns violent, and Remus is killed by his own brother. With that single, brutal act, the dispute is over. Romulus stands alone, he's victorious, and he gives the city its name and its entire identity. It's going to be Rome, named for its triumphant and now solitary king. Romulus doesn't waste a single second. His triumph leads to immediate, decisive action. First, he builds the walls, setting a physical and sacred border. Next, he establishes the law, creating social order from chaos. And finally, he becomes the first king, consolidating all the power. The foundations of Rome were laid in one single, brutal, and incredibly efficient stroke. So why does this violent, almost tragic story matter so much? Because everything that happened in the myth, The nurturing wolf, the ambitious brothers, the triumphant founder, it all became the moral and psychological legacy of Rome itself. The Romans literally pulled their core values straight from this story. Resilience, that's surviving being abandoned in a river. Determination, that's the ambition to build a city against all odds. And perseverance, well, that's the relentless drive to triumph, no matter what it costs. This wasn't just a story. It was an instruction manual for how to be Roman. At the end of the day, the myth suggests that Rome's strength wasn't just in its legions or its amazing aqueducts. No, it was in the shared belief in these ideals, a collective heart and national character that was totally committed to this idea of greatness being born from struggle. So, we're left with this provocative question, aren't we? The Roman source code is literally written in the blood of a brotherly conflict. It suggests that for something new and powerful to be born, something old, or maybe just a competing idea, has to be overcome, sometimes violently. It's a challenging thought, and it's one that echoes far, far beyond the 7 hills of ancient Rome.